My name is Anthony Rodriguez, and I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and student of botany. And this is going to be the first of a series of short commentary documentaries of my travels with a botanical explorer and ethnobotanist Joe Simcox. Now we get ourselves in some crazy situations.
That's the girl from last time. Behind you, Joe. What? The lady from last time.
And he's a very crazy and dynamic character.
Oh, I love sea buckthorn. It's going to be one of the best juices in the entire world.
And I want to give a little insight to you, the viewer, of what it's like traveling with a character such as Joe. And I will show you some of the dangerous and exciting situations we get ourselves into in search of some of the world's rarest plants. So this is the first of a series of short commentary documentaries, and this is going to be on the rugged terrains of the Dominican Republic. Excuse me for the shitty filming, because the camera's literally around my neck, and I try not to fall down this damn cliff. Damn, how the f did they get down there? Man, look, that's just all a drop. It's 100 feet down.
It's extraordinarily dangerous. It's like fucking straight up.
It's a loop.
So we're on a treacherous slope here, not too far from Paraíso in the Dominican Republic, up in the Loma, or the wilds as they say. And we've just come down essentially a cliff covered with jungle. And although the trees are wonderful support, the reason it's so extraordinarily dangerous is because there are limestone boulders stuck in this very frail and very loose earth. And so as we're coming down, the biggest concern that I have is that any member of the team below another member could be wiped out by an immediate and instantaneous landslide. So this right here is a wonderful example of adaptation of palms in tropical cliff-like conditions, such as this Reinhardtia powasskiana, and what it's showing are aerial roots, a way of sending down stilts, if you will, that eventually, hopefully, reach the soil and get in there and start growing and help bring more nourishment to the plant, but also stabilize it on these incredible sites. So as you see, the plant itself has a geometry. As it grows up, these things are busting out of it, sending down these auxiliary shoots which go into the soil. And you can see it's a pretty amazing architecture that allows what essentially is a rather flimsy stem to brace itself on a cliff like this. I've fallen a few times already. The entire side of this cliff is covered with epiphytes, vines, lianas, and what we see here is interesting because there is a vanilla. That is probably Vanilla domingensis, and it's indigenous or endemic to Hispaniola. Here's one right here. So this is a terrestrial orchid which produces the vanilla bean or the pod, and here we see it. So really pretty amazing. It may or may not be endemic according to things they've actually cut this one, but this plant grows as a liana here in the forest. The other vines which aren't so nice include this one, which has its tons and tons of spines on it, which if you rip along it, you get this. I guess they said I ripped my...
It's on that side.
I guess they said I ripped it everywhere.
Oh, you're bleeding.
You're bleeding everywhere?
You're bleeding in your arm. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, where? Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Very cool. With hemochromatosis, you want to bleed as much as possible. Here's the reason why the whole thing is dangerous. These effing limestone rocks are embedded in very nice, friable, loose soil. That means when you step on them, they have a chance of rolling down the hill. So one of the things that's terrifying about it is if you have your team below and you're dropping rocks on them. Because one time Elise and I were on another hill here in Dominican Republic called Pico de Nalga, and we were sitting on what seemed to be stable ground. We moved and an avalanche ensued that would have wiped both of us off the face of the planet. Terrifying. You got a way of doing that?
Exiting those thick forest jungles were just as difficult as getting in. What I find most interesting about the Dominican Republic is the geography, ranging from lush valleys, mountains, tropical rainforests, subtropical dry forests, semi-desert plains. We even found ourselves in moist pine forests, mostly full of a pine species called Pinus occidentalis. But that's not why we were there. We was actually looking for a very interesting palm. A very interesting palm. I'm going to show you in a second. Isn't it beautiful? But our journey to the dry scrub forest, where there is a chain of rocky limestone hills, was one of the most rugged terrains I have ever walked on.
We have some obstacles in our way, including that terrible plant, the guava, which is all over this place, and we're trying to find a way to get up into that area there where they're growing on the calcium, the limestone cliffs. We're at the end of the road. There's nothing else here. So it's either we walk through that shit. What is this? Another lesser road. Oh yes.
Walking through these limestone hills was extremely hard and painful because of the pure dog-tooth limestone.
The place is so f***ing brutal, it's hard to believe. You can hear the stuff crackles, it's so brittle. This is a weird place, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You really got great photos?
Yep. So I'm walking on this super jagged rock. It's a long way down here. I'm in the Dominican Republic, and I have to say, this is some of the most treacherous terrain I've ever walked on. It's pure jagged rocks. Ow. And I got a cactus dropped in my freaking boot. Ow. Okay. Okay. Well, gotta get over there. A long way down, so I'm gonna stop filming so I don't fall.
So this is really a spectacular environment. I've been in environments like this all over the world, from the Tsingy formations in Madagascar, which are eroded limestone, to the exact same thing here, but just not so far along. These things, I don't know if you can really see it, but they're razor sharp. I don't really want to cut my hand on it to prove it, but maybe I should. Yeah, that's razor sharp, but you can see my shoe, what has happened to my shoe in the last hour. So the thing is, these eroded limestone cliffs are popular habitats for very unusual plants, and this plant habitat here includes some very strange cacti related to opuntias, and of course this magnificent Dr. Seuss palm tree, which is Cocothrinax ekmanii. This particular plant doesn't need a soil base to get started because the habit of the plant itself is with its roots to form a microcosm of its own root base, its own soil base, which gradually accumulates a little bit of detritus and after time some humus. Now this palm only can grow here. It apparently grows so slow that it can't compete with other plants, and it has its own micro world. A Dr. Seuss world, which if you look here, is absolutely unbelievable. One of those few places where you just stand and marvel at the uniqueness of nature. Look at this.
And not long after that, we started a new journey to find another very interesting plant, which happens to be one of my favorites, which resides in dry forests. We actually had to make a 13-mile hike deep into this dry forest. Because the trek was so long, we were getting sidetracked by a bunch of interesting cacti. So we had a good time eating different species of cacti fruit.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's so delicious. Here, okay, so what I'm trying to do here is this particularly beautiful cactus, which I unfortunately don't know the scientific name of, but it's not hard at all to find, is really predominant in this part of these limestone calcareous. Look at this, this is pure limestone. This looks like a good one. I'll clean that one. So most people don't know how delicious cacti are, but if I was stuck out here, I would be eating these all day long.
And after a long and hot 13-mile hike, we found what we were looking for.
Hey, Joe! Come look at these!
So we're in DR right now, walking around. Very deep in the brush. Desert, tropical desert part of the island. And we're looking for these babies. Pseudophoenix egmania, one of the most amazing palm trees in the world. Just look at the patterns and striations on that tree. Very rare. Joe just actually got caught into a hornet's nest, so I just heard him yell.
So here we are on the peninsula of Pedernales in southwestern Dominican Republic. And this right here is one of the most fantastic palm trees in the entire world. This giant bulbous stem is the stem of Pseudophoenix egmanii. And as you see, we're in a virtual forest of them. This shows you the beginning plant right here, a little plant which is growing up in this nest in a rock. This is all eroded limestone. Here's the seeds right here. The seeds are, that's from the fruiting season, so they get embedded in there. And if fortunate, and with time, this plant may survive to this ripe old age here. Here we see a vanilla plant, Vanilla domingensis, which is a terrestrial orchid growing up on this. So it's just astounding how nature is. So it makes this big bulbous stem, and whether it holds water or not is something to be discovered, but I believe it probably does. We haven't the guts to cut one down, but you can see this is a very, very old tree. It has recently fruited, and over there is a virtual forest of them. So we're going to be going through those. Here's another one with beautiful striations, which are the leaf marks. So each time one of these leaf buds come out, it leaves a mark, and especially on the younger trees. This is obviously a very old tree. So I'll stand by it again to pose with a beautiful old lady or a beautiful old man. Wow.
So the next episode is going to be on world markets, and we're going to get a look at some of the most unique fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, and other condiments, as well as some of the odd situations we get ourselves into. So stay tuned for the next episode, where we will have a look at some of the most unique markets, well, in the world.